What's good, YouTube? Back with another reaction, man. Today, y'all, we got the story, a AR ad. It's a rap stomach criminal, but man, we about to see what they talk about on this joint, bro. Cause I ain't gonna say I was tapped in, but I heard of him, but I never really knew what he got into, bro. So about to type into this. If you're new to the channel, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's get it, bro.
Another episode of Swamp Stories. For this video, we cover a story that will probably blow your mind. It's the tale of a man who struck it rich out of the mud and managed to throw it all away in the strangest way possible. Trust me, this one is good. But before we get into it, let me run the intro.
I seen him do it.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a city that no one thinks of unless we're talking about cheesesteaks or football.
Bro, that's
all we know.
That is cap. He need to stop that right now.
That it's freezing cold, the people are extremely rude, and the sports teams always come up short. But in all seriousness, Philly's biggest problem is the out-of-control crime. Most American cities are bad in one category, but Philly sits near the bottom in every single one.
10 carjackings in just over 24 hours across the city.
Tonight, Philadelphia has set a
bro, that's the city of goblins, bro.
new grim record for homicides in a single year. There have now been 501 homicides in the city.
3 days, at least 8 businesses hit, and police, they are on the hunt for the person responsible.
Large, unruly crowds took over this intersection right here behind me very early this morning. Those same crowds also quickly swarmed police who were on scene.
Yes, Philadelphia is a wild, wild place and has been for a long time. It's exponentially worse than New York City in every single category, but for whatever reason gets none of the attention. However, that ends today, as you'll be able to see the nonsense that takes place in the streets of Philly. So let's dive right in. The story begins in the trenches of North Philadelphia, specifically 75th Avenue. This is where a man named Barry Reese, also known as Cassidy, was born and raised. Cassidy grew up extremely rough and used rapping as his way to make it out of the hood. In the early 2000s, he performed at rap battles all over the East Coast until he was noticed by a young producer named Swizz Beatz. Swizz saw potential in
There's always some connection somewhere, bro. Hold on.
And decided to sign him to a 3-album deal in 2002. Right off the bat, his career was a success with hit songs like Hotel and Get No Better. He was already performing at award shows, and his debut album went gold in 2004. Cassidy was the man, but behind closed doors was living a street life in North Philadelphia. In a place like North Philly, a famous rapper could not operate alone. So in order to protect himself, Cassidy always rolled with a young goon that he grew up with. This would be one of his childhood best friends named Abdul West. Abdul was raised in a good 2-parent home that ate together, prayed together 5 times a day, and always made sure his homework was done. Because of this, Abdul was a good student and actually graduated high school at 16 with a trade in plumbing. Despite being
he was hooping for real.
Good path, Abdul had a strange love for the streets that always caught his attention. Although home life was good, North Philly was always hectic, and Abdul wanted to be a part of it. So when his homie Cassidy's career blew up, he volunteered to be his street enforcer. So in the streets of Philly, Cassidy was at the helm, and by his side was Abdul, his brother Leek Moss, and another friend named Pretty Flock. Together, they were the guys in Philly. They had all the money, and of course, they had all of the girls as well. But with this kind of fame came a whole lot of envy. Many people they grew up with were jealous and were looking for any reason to try them. And that takes us to April 15th, 2005. It's a huge day for Cassidy as he's releasing his highly anticipated song, I'm a Hustler.
So he from 78th in North Philly? See, I've been to Philly probably total of 10 times, so I'm kind of familiar, but I never knew where AR ad was from though.
So of course he's in great spirits until he receives an alarming phone call from Abdul. Abdul tells him that Pretty Flock was jumped by a group of guys they grew up with. The story goes that they caught him out doing errands and they jumped him for absolutely zero reason. So directly after, Flock called Abdul and told him to pull up ASAP. From there, Abdul hopped in his car and called Cassidy to let him know that he might need to bail him out of jail. So Abdul drove to Pretty Flock, picked him up, and they went around looking for the group of guys. The story goes that Abdul caught one of the guys outside of Rite Aid and put his paws on him. From all accounts, Abdul handled him like Tyron Woodley or John Jones. And just like that, there was a potential beef stewing in the streets of Philly. But the guys who started this quickly came to a realization. Do we really want to beef with Abdul West? Shh, probably not. So in order to prevent a beef, one of the guys calls Abdul and sees if they can make peace. At 6 p.m., a man named Desmond Hawkins calls Abdul's phone. He apologizes for what happened to Pretty Flock and he asks him if they can be cool. Abdul tells him to swing by Cassidy's house at 9 p.m. so they can talk it out. Desmond agrees and that's the plans for the night. So you're probably thinking, wow, Abdul is so mature and level-headed, but you'll see. Abdul drives to his house, grabs a blower, and heads over to Cassidy's. When he arrives, he gives him a rundown of the situation, and Cassidy thinks it's a good idea. But then Abdul tells him that he stashed a blower in the bushes next to his house, and that makes him skeptical. If they're coming over to make peace, why are you putting a blower in the bushes? It doesn't make any sense. But Abdul isn't the kind of guy you question, so Cassidy just leaves it alone. 9:30 p.m. Desmond Hawkins and his two friends arrive at Cassidy's house looking to make peace. When they arrive, Desmond honks his horn and Abdul walks outside. He walks up to Desmond's driver's side window and they begin having a conversation. Somehow it turns into an argument and Abdul walks over to the bushes. From there, he grabs his piece and allegedly makes a terrible decision.
Cooked him.
Abdul and Cassidy instantly vacate the area and decide to go out of town. Sadly, Desmond didn't deserve this in a million years, but this was Philadelphia's introduction to Abdul West. Abdul ruined a potentially great day for Cassidy.
Bro, why he keep using that nutty picture of me?
I'm a Hustler was major on the charts, so at the height of his career, Cassidy was paranoid about the event that happened right outside of his house. He knew that even Philadelphia police would eventually figure it out and that it was a matter of time. That time would come, June 17th, 2005. Philadelphia police announced that Cassidy and Abdul West are both wanted for the passing of Desmond Hawkins. This shocked the hip-hop world as Cassidy was becoming a major artist. He smartly turned himself in the same day and instantly his life came crashing down. The superstar rapper at the height of his career was now facing 25 to life. While on the other hand, Abdul would go on the run but would eventually be found 2 weeks later in Ohio. Now we talk about the court cases, which are actually pretty interesting. This is because Cassidy and Abdul took two completely different routes on fighting them. The men in the car with Desmond told police that they didn't see Cassidy but instead saw Abdul do it. And the only reason Cassidy was arrested is because it happened in front of his house, so police thought that he called the shot. The prosecutors had a weak case against Cassidy, so he could have easily taken it to trial and beaten it in the end. However, trials can take years and Cassidy was eager to get back to his career, so he ended up pleading to involuntary manslaughter and taking an 11-month sentence. How this qualifies as involuntary manslaughter is beyond me, but he figured that it was his best option. This way, his music career was guaranteed to return in under a year. On the other hand, Abdul decided to take his case to trial and test his luck. This was extremely risky, especially as there was 2 eyewitnesses.
I was gonna say, bro, he about to get put in the grease doing that.
Knew something that the rest of the world didn't, and that would be that the 2 eyewitnesses would not testify in his trial. That's how feared he was in the streets. No one would dare testify against him in court. And because of this, he was able to beat his trial in 2007 and be released with 0 charges. So now Cassidy was a convicted felon and Abdul had no record. Of course, this isn't fair, but it also goes to show that you need to be careful who you hang around.
That's true too, but how is it not fair though?
Ruin your career or possibly even end your life.
That's definitely true.
Cassidy was lucky that it was only a year, but it still had some serious consequences. When Cassidy got home in 2006, his buzz just simply wasn't what it used to be. However, he still had a decent following and 1 album left with Swizz Beatz. So on November 6, 2007, his final album under Swizz was released and it didn't do quite as well as expected. Because of this, he and Swizz went their separate ways and he started his own label called The Larceny Family in 2008. He funded it himself and of course made himself the main artist. But if you have a label, you probably need more than just yourself. Well, coincidentally, the start of Larceny Family was the same time that Ab came home, so Cassidy convinced him to become a rapper and to sign to his label. He promised him that he'd make him a star and that together they'd get to the millions. So Abdul agreed and signed on the dotted lines. His rap name would be AR Ab and the Larceny Family was off to the races. Or not. Cassidy underestimated the cost of starting a label and jump-starting a new career, and as a result he prioritized his own career and AR Ab was kicked to the curb. During this process, Ab began getting frustrated and finally decided to go his separate ways. He felt like Cassidy got his hopes up for no reason and was wasting his time. Because of this, their relationship went sour and the former best friends were now at odds. Beef with Abdul was the last thing that Cassidy needed in his life.
Friends turn to enemies quick, man. Dang.
But thankfully by this time he had already moved out of Philly. He was living in New York, focused on getting his career back to the mainstream stage. On the other hand, Ab now had a major chip on his shoulder and wanted to prove to Cassidy that he could make it himself. He now understood that running a career took a lot of money and that became his main focus. He used to be the bully tough guy, but now he was only focused on stacking money and hustling. But he didn't have any money to start with, so he began by finessing and robbing plugs, a very dangerous game in Philly. This would eventually catch up to him, but in the meantime, this is how he got his start. He flipped his work in the streets over and over until he was dealing with some serious pape, and from there he wanted to turn it into a whole operation.
He said, I done robbed niggas for a couple bricks. Bro, they better pull up the interviews, bro.
In 2009, Ab started a gang called the Original Block Hustlers, also known as OBH. OBH started as a family, as everyone who joined was already in Ab's circle. You have his brother Leek Moss, Dark Low, and Kaz, who are known as the original members. Well, right off the bat, OBH hit the streets hard, moving weight, finessing plugs, and eliminating any competition. Ab's goal was to take over Philadelphia's underground market and achieve this by any means. And after stacking enough cash, he decided to start his own music label. A label called the Original Block Hustlers, also known as OBH. Now, why would you name your label the same as your gang?
See, this was before the police was Ricoing everybody, like all the rappers and stuff.
Whatever. He wasn't thinking it through, but on the bright side, the music started to pick up. He dropped back-to-back mixtapes and singles that did pretty well in the streets of Philly, but his ways of finessing plugs would eventually catch up to him. September 27th, 2010. It's another Monday afternoon in Philly and AR Ab is outside on the block getting money. At 4 p.m. he gets a call from a plug that he met a couple weeks ago. The plug tells him he has a play for him and to come pick him up and take him down to Kensington. If you're unfamiliar, Kensington is pretty much Skid Row on steroids, so you know there's money to be made. So Ab hops in his car, goes to pick up his new Connect and heads over to Kensington. During the car ride, Ab and the man get to know each other and they realize that Ab grew up with his baby mama. So they're laughing when Ab stops at a stop sign just a block away from the designated location. As he's talking, all he hears is bang. He quickly realizes he's hit up and he looks over to see if his new friend is okay. But the man had already exited the car and was nowhere to be found. So Ab quickly speeds off to the nearest hospital. While he's speeding through traffic, he calls his cousin and tells him to meet him at the emergency room. So he pulls up to the hospital parking lot and tells his cousin to come pick up his car. He then tells him to throw away his phone so his girlfriend can't see his messages. From there, he hobbles to the emergency room where thankfully they save his life. It turns out that he was hit 10 times, which is a miracle that he made it. And the craziest part is that he says his biggest concern was his girl going through his phone. This guy is something else, wow. And believe it or not, the story gets even better.
Bro, 10 times is crazy, bro. Like how? How is that even survivable? What, he had a 9?
Cousin returned with his phone, he posted a picture on Twitter letting the world know that he's still alive. While recovering in the hospital, Ab gets a call from Swizz Beatz. Swizz remembered him from studio sessions with Cassidy and he wanted to send him his best wishes. On top of this, he tells him that he wants to work with him and bring him together with his new artist Meek Mill. Ab is excited as this could be huge for his career, but he's also not fully trusting his word. Regardless, on the day he's released from the hospital, he decides to give Swizz Beatz a call. Surprisingly, Swizz picks up the phone and even drives to Philly the same day. And on this same night, he goes to the studio with Meek Mill and AR Ab. This just goes to show the character of Swizz Beatz, a true man of his word. And even though Ab and Meek knew each other from the streets, bringing them together in the studio was a big deal.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't even know they was working together.
From this session, they released their first song together on November 11th, 2010. So after nearly dying, Ab's life trajectory was on the up and up. So much so that after this song, Birdman actually wanted to sign him to Cash Money. He even flew to Philadelphia and handed Ab $200,000 as a bribe to sign. However, after his experience with Cassidy, Ab had no intentions of ever signing with a label. So he said no to Birdman but kept the $200,000. In retrospect,
He Birdman though. You a real deal savage.
this was an idiotic move, as Ab could have been the final piece to Cash Money Records. But not only did he fumble this opportunity, but he also kept the cash and ruined their relationship with Birdman. To some people, he was too real for the industry, but in my mind, he was just showing his dumb street ways. On the other hand, Meek Mill took the complete opposite route. Shortly after this, he signed with Rick Ross's MMG and got straight to the millions. So now, while AR Ab could have easily been the face of Philly, it was now Meek Mill. So Abdul chose to keep living his life in the streets.
I ain't taking nothing away from AR Ab, bro, but I ain't gonna lie, bro. Meek, it's hard to replace Meek raw, bro. But he just, them Diddy allegations, bro, that really fried him, bro.
Philadelphia.
It's just too much.
For the next couple of years, he released independent mixtapes and songs and hustled in the streets with OHB. And although it wasn't mainstream success, his songs did make waves on the East Coast. But then in 2012, things would come crashing down. Abdul lost his mother, grandmother, and was arrested in the same month. After accidentally selling to an undercover cop, his house was raided and they found all kinds of substances. This ultimately landed him a 3-year prison sentence on April 13th, 2013. And although he was always cool, calm, and collected, this right here made him panic. He had seen what a prison sentence did to Cassidy's career and he didn't want this for himself. So he pleaded for the judge to give him an opportunity to shave off some time. So in exchange for a year off his sentence, he agreed to speak at schools and do community service.
We wanted to go talk to the kids and, go to the Vision Quest, talk to the troubled youth. And I just left from talking to a middle school and elementary school. I cleaned a couple playgrounds up and all that. We just doing everything we can, man, help the community out, man. And, show these people now more of an asset on the streets than in jail, you know what I'm saying? Like, I finally left to turn myself in. Probably gonna do a couple more songs. I did some things in my past. Wish, I can turn back the end of time, but I can't. You know what I'm saying? Just caught up to me, so.
Now things were looking better. He only had to do a year and a half, plus he had a bunch of unreleased music. A couple of these songs like Riviera Riding and All I Got Is Me became East Coast hits. So when Ab was released in October of 2014, he came home to a bigger fan base than ever before. And in the summer of 2015, things would be taken to the next level for an unexpected reason. If you can remember, this is when Meek Mill dissed Drake on Twitter because he didn't promote his album.
Wow. See, bro, I remember when they used to be cool, but I never knew about this. I'm talking about Meek Mill and Drake, bro. See, that's crazy.
In the tweet, he said that Drake didn't write his verse on Rico and ended up posting the original track. Drake was obviously upset, so a week later he released his Meek Mill diss song called Back to Back. In the song, Drake says, "I drove here in the Wraith playing AR Ab." This was major for Ab as it led to many people looking him up on Google, but it also put him in a strange position. He just got shouted out by the biggest rapper in the world, but he also has to side with his friend Meek, right? A week later, he made an appearance on Vlad TV where he stated that Drake went harder and that he was disappointed in Meek's response.
After I heard, I'm thinking like, this can't be it. You know what I'm saying? Meek come from Philly streets. I'm thinking like, you know what I mean? There was gonna be some more than that. You know what I mean? I was kind of, a little disappointed. You know what I'm saying? That was corny. A lot of people thought it was corny. A lot of people thought it was trash. A lot of people thought like Meek lost.
So back to back, you thought it was a crazy diss song.
Yeah.
When Meek saw the interview, he was pissed. Ab was just keeping it real, but in Meek's mind, he should have had its back no matter what. So the next day at his show, he yelled, "F*** AR Ab."
Hey, man. Yeah, I can't even say who in the wrong, bro, because, no, I can't say who in the wrong. that's your man, you supposed to be backing him. So you mean I don't know what AR was on, but I mean, but he was keeping it a bean though. He was saying he thought it was gonna be harder. He didn't really say too much. I feel like, I don't know, bro. It's how Meek took it. No Diddy.
Of course, Ab felt disrespected, and he dropped his own back-to-back just a couple days later. In the song, he says that Meek Mill is too scared to diss him on a song, and that his artist O'Malley is the softest one on Dream Chasers. Oh, and he also opens the song with this, and you guys know what he's talking about.
I caught a body for I wrote a rap. You rather hold a mic or rather hold a Mac?
After this, Meek would leave it alone, but AR-Ab would milk the situation till the dawn of time. Every time he was in front of a camera, he would begin talking about it.
No, quick question. They could be the king of the radio and rap. You don't rap all that. Fuck all that. I'm in the streets. That's where you get your love from. I run the mud, man. You better know that. You got the mud, people. What's Meek beef, man? Like, what's up with that, man? Not beef, man. I kill people for real. Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he physically dead? No, he's not. There ain't no beef then. You got real killers that kill.
Despite saying there's no beef, Ab would later admit that things got bloody behind closed doors.
We got bloody behind the scenes, man. You know what I'm saying? My got shot behind the scenes. They got roll in the streets with us behind the scenes. You dig what I'm saying?
Thankfully, though, in the same interview, Ab said that he got on the phone with Meek for 4 hours to squash the beef.
After all that, we still managed to squash it though, like on the tickets. It was never me and him. We talked on the phone for like 4 hours and shit. I said, damn, like, I asked him, I said, man, did I ever disrespect you? He was like, no.
Overall, all this drama brought a ton of attention to AR-Ab, especially after the Vlad interview.
Didn't he just
and
get
for
out?
Whatever reason, he got
a dark low. I swear I seen some on like that on Instagram like not too long ago.
addicted to the attention and began telling everything in all kinds of interviews. While he and his OBH gang are committing serious crimes in the streets, he began telling it all to the world. He told the world what he does, what his OBH associates do, and where you can find them. No, like I've never seen anything like this before.
Like, we got Allegheny, we got Area Ave, we got 18th Street, we got like from the 20th Street all the way to Broad Street. It's an epidemic. I want to start branching off on the other side. We might take a block on the other side of Broad Street. I might put some work out there. I'm thinking about taking Clearfield over. I'm thinking about taking Clearfield over. And I might cross. We already crossed Pike Street already, right? Oh, we already down to Butler Street. That's Pike Street.
I told y'all they had to put a clips out, bro, because y'all wouldn't even believe me if I told y'all.
Now. So we on 20th Street. I'm thinking about going to 10th Street. We already cleared the Broad. We thinking about going all the way to 10th Street now. We thinking about crossing Clearfield because nobody gonna do nothing about it anyway. Once we get over there, I put work out there. Anybody want to put work out there? What they gonna do? They gonna call everybody's phone and cop out and ask why we doing it. I allow my man Bryce to quit rap and become a shooter. Like Bryce, I don't even want to rap. Like a big Brock back there. Bryce, you don't rap no more. You just want to be a shooter, man. You smoke. I ain't gonna lie, you smell blood, man. My man Bryce caught his first shooting. He was like, all right. When he caught his first shooting, he said, he put down the fucking notepad and he said, I love the way this shit feel. I just want to shoot. You smoke.
As you can tell, he had an obsession with telling the world what he
This man was wild, bro.
Doing in the streets. Why he was doing this, I really can't figure it out, but if there's any psychologists in the comments, please let me know. So now let's jump into the crazy story of OBH. While Ab was at the height of his rap career, he was 100% focused on the expansion of OBH in the streets. He wanted to be the new BMF, except without hiding anything they're doing. His philosophy was that the more people that join along, the better, which really wasn't smart. Instead of hiring specialists like BMF, Ab was willing to take anyone off the streets. And I mean literally anyone. You'll see what I'm talking about. The first person he recruited is a truck driver named Richard Hoover, also known as Boogie. Boogie was kind of like the Milk 7-4 of the North Philly trenches. But instead of sitting on his balcony, he started a trucking company in Las Vegas called Team Transportation LLC. This is what enticed Ab. Boogie could move weight from the West Coast back to Philly. So by 2017, Boogie was working full-time for Ab, moving weight between California and Philly. This quickly became a major operation, racking in hundreds of thousands of dollars. With all this weight, AR-Ab needed somewhere to stash it. Ab purchased 4 stash houses in Philly, all under his name.
Oh boy.
But the main stash house was called the Mansion, and this is where all of the OBH members met up and discussed business. How I know this? Well, Ab took a picture in front of the house and posted it on Instagram with the caption Trap House. This dude was clearly not scared of
Oh my, like this, bro, this is what I'm saying. Like if we not seeing it, we wouldn't believe it, bro.
Or police. But the mansion wasn't his only spot, as he had 3 other luxury apartments located in the Philly area. For example, you have the Treaty penthouses where Ab stayed himself. All of the members were in and out of the 4 properties, moving weight on a daily basis. At any given moment, there was at least $500,000 at each property. And with all of this wealth, Ab knew that he couldn't be the only one to protect it. So that's when he recruited a new member that he knew would put in work. This would be a man named Abbas Parker, also known as Skinny Me. Skinny didn't grow up with any OHB members, however his brother was cellmates with Ab in prison. So while Ab was in prison,
He said, boy, Skinny Me, a real life demon.
mate told him to get in touch with his brother once he was released. This is because Skinny was a talented rapper and his brother wanted him to get signed. But Ab heard about his stories in the streets and he knew that he was a certified stepper. All of this made him a top candidate for an OBH member. He was a rapper and a stepper at the same time. Skinny was a wild dude in the streets and his actions would be super unpredictable. And that takes us to September 11th, 2017. It's another Monday in North Philly and Skinny is hanging out on 22nd in Lehigh. At 2 p.m. he's set to meet with a business associate named Sherman Williams. Allegedly, Sherman is owed money by Skinny and is going over to collect it. Little does Sherman know, Skinny Me is not the kind of guy you do fair business with. Well, after paying a traffic ticket downtown, Sherman heads to North Philly to meet with him. At 2:30, he arrives on the corner and removes his helmet to talk. Somehow the conversation turns into an argument and Skinny Me loses his cool.
Cooked him for owning him.
Skinny instantly runs to his white Jeep and drops his phone in the process. He then hops in the car and speeds off to the OHB mansion.
Sandra Brown says her son Sherman Williams was finally on the right track in life.
He was turning himself completely around, and he wasn't dealing with the same people that he was dealing with.
Brown says on Monday, September 11th, Williams was on his way back from paying his parking tickets. She says he called her at about 5 p.m. to check in.
We had a conversation for about 10 minutes.
That was the last time she talked to him. About 30 minutes later, the 29-year-old was shot multiple times along 22nd Street between Somerset and Lehigh Streets in North Philadelphia.
From what I can understand, him and some guy had some words. But I don't know what words was so powerful for this person to shoot my son in the back twice.
Williams died less than 2 hours later. The city of Philadelphia is offering up to $20,000 in reward money for the arrest and conviction of the person responsible. All you have to do is call the Citizens Crime Commission at 21.
They ain't telling him. I'm surprised they had jumped for 20.
546 tips. All calls will remain anonymous.
When he arrives, he realizes he doesn't have his phone, so he searches the car but can't find anything. Skinny knew that he messed up and he was hoping that police would not find the phone. But what he failed to realize is that Philly has cameras everywhere and the car's plates were on. Because of this, police found that the car was registered to Abdul West at the OHB mansion address. Police were excited and they figured that they had finally got him. So just the next day, the OHB mansion was raided, but when police arrived, no one was home, which was very unusual for the mansion. During the raid, they found $87,000 in cash and all kinds of illicit items. However, in Pennsylvania, you can't raid someone for one crime and then use the findings to charge them with something else. So no one was charged for anything.
What? I did not know that. See, bro. Oh my, that's crazy. I know
Police
that.
were unsure of who did this to Sherman Williams. However, Skinny's decision still had some serious implications as the police now knew what AR Ab had going on. So after the raid, they began following him and tracking his every move, even allowing him to commit crimes. The raid should have been a huge wake-up call for Ab, but he was either slow or he didn't even care about the consequences. It's almost like he took Philadelphia police as a joke, especially after this next move. After Skinny's incident, Ab decided to reward him by introducing him to the world on a major hip-hop channel.
Y'all know who he is.
This is my little brother, Skinny
Notorious.
Me. The notorious Skinny Me. That boy about 130 pounds of horror. I know this for a fact. And guess what? This is what I like about Skinny Me. This is what I like about Skinny Me music, man. It's just raw. And it's like reality rap.
Mafia.
Skinny Me will go through a situation, and guess what? It's gonna be in the song. He's gonna make a song about it the same day. So I know that's why I feel it so much. I know it. When he said I killed the and I did that, I seen him do it. I seen him do it.
Oh my gosh, bro. Like, this is so fat, bro.
Do it.
Oh my god.
When he say somebody try to drop on me, not wrestle him out for the gun,
man.
and I seen him do it. I know he did it for a fact. I believe he's gonna make millions of dollars off of Skinny Me.
Fucking money, original black hustlers.
And one of the newest members, but most vital member, key member. He's from Ohio.
This was not a smart move, but Skinny Me was eating it all up. Although he wasn't originally from Philly, he was becoming a star in their streets. His rap career was also taking off because people now knew that he was living his raps. But on the other hand, Philadelphia police were all over him as he became their new target.
Wow.
OHB had the streets on lock, and AR-AB would keep making boneheaded decisions. Instead of focusing on covering his tracks, his main concern was eliminating competition in the streets. In particular, he was upset with a former friend who was now selling in the same North Philly market. This would be a man named Robert Johnson, a young homie of AB who used to hustle for him back in 2011. During this time, Robert was arrested and sentenced to 7 years in prison, all allegedly behind OBH. Once he was released, he wanted no parts of the streets, so he took a completely different route. He was taking classes to become a personal trainer and was trying his best to stay out of trouble. However, life as a convicted felon is hard, and it's believed that he began hustling again in North Philly, but this time without AR-AB. Once Abdul found out, he was pissed, as he was a self-proclaimed extortionist. He needed to be in control of everyone, and he used fear to get his way. However, Robert Johnson was no longer going for this, and AR-AB was livid. No one had ever stood up to him like this, like who would go against Philly's top goon. In the old days, AB would have handled this himself, but now he had guys to call on. Skinny was laying low after his recent incident, so AB called on a brand new member. This would be a man named Dontez Stewart, also known as Taz. Taz was a hustler for another gang in Philly, but he had recently fallen out with them. And after the fallout, he befriended OBH Dark Low and inquired on being an OBH hustler himself. He told him that he's down bad and willing to do anything to get money with OBH. Low knew that AB was willing to accept any new members, so he brought him to his house.
They was mans with Quilly too?
There, Taz and AB discussed potentially joining OBH and what that would entail. He pretty much said you have to do anything I tell you, whether that's stepping on rivals or selling whatever. Taz agreed and told him he'd do anything for him. So AB shook his hand and told him that in order to become a member, you must stay at the OBH mansion for 2 weeks. There you'll meet members and learn the ins and outs of the operation. Letting someone you just met into your illegal operation might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Taz could be relaying information to his former gang, he could be plotting to rob, or he could be an undercover officer. AR-AB was not thinking it through. But after 2 weeks at the mansion, Taz officially became an OHB member. He immediately hit the streets and began hustling like never before. He was so geeked that after just 4 weeks of being a member, he got an OBH tattoo on his neck. This was to show his fellow members his loyalty and to let them know he'll never snitch on them. Dontez Stewart was a wild card to say the least. Well, this is the guy that AB called to eliminate Robert Johnson. And that takes us to October 12th, 2017. Ooh, hey. It's a month after the raid and AR-AB is back at the mansion with some fellow members. At 12:30 p.m. he calls Taz and tells him to come to the mansion ASAP. So Taz immediately pulls up and sits down with AB. AB shows him a picture of Robert Johnson and tells him to follow instructions. He tells him to go on Instagram and to DM Robert to make a deal. He then tells him that when they meet up, he needs to eliminate him. Taz only joined OBH for money, so he really doesn't.
So you telling me they did this on Instagram Bro, oh my goodness, dude.
Want to do this. So he makes up an excuse and tells Ab that he doesn't have an Instagram. Ab believes he's being honest, so he comes up with a solution. He tells him to call his baby mama and have her come over to the mansion. When she arrives, he asks for her phone and hands it over to Taz. From his baby mama's account, he tells him to DM Robert and tell him who he is. He tells him to tell Robert that he heard he moves weight and he wants to buy some. Once Robert responds, he tells him to exchange phone numbers and now they're locked in. At this point, Taz has no excuses and he has to do it. So Taz and Robert agree to meet up later in the day. Taz really doesn't want to do this. Regardless, at 8 p.m., Taz meets up with Robert to complete the job. So Taz gets out of his car and walks up to Robert's window. He reaches for his waistband, but he can't get himself to do it. So instead, he simply makes the transaction and shakes Robert's hand. He then returns to the OBH mansion, not sure what to expect. He tells Ab that he simply couldn't get himself to do it. Ab is pissed, so he slaps the table and says, "What? Why?" So Taz tells him that he simply has no idea why he's doing it. Ab responds by saying that Robert is playing both sides of the fence and it can't continue. This response doesn't satisfy Taz, so Ab decides to throw in a perk. He tells him that if you do this, I'll make sure you're straight. No further details are discussed as this was all Taz needed to hear. Attempt number 2. October 14th, 2017.
Hold on.
Taz texts Robert and tells him that he needs to re-up. Robert responds and tells him that he's busy at the club and he can't meet up until after 2 a.m. So the two agree to meet up in the parking lot outside the club after he's done. In the meantime, Taz begins to ponder his decision, so he calls up a fellow member for reassurance. The member, whose name is OBH Birdo, is ecstatic and he actually volunteers to go with him. So
They doing a lot of talking on his phone, man.
a.m., Taz hops in his car, picks up Birdo, and they head to the club parking lot. That's where they wait until 3:30 a.m. when Robert finally leaves the club. They text him to meet them in the parking lot and that they'll get out of the car when he arrives. So Robert walks towards their car and that's when Taz hops out.
Cooked him.
He hops back in his car, speeds away, and heads directly to Birdo's. When he arrives, he hands his blower to Birdo and tells him to put it in a shoebox in his closet. Birdo's confused and says, "Why don't you just go throw it away?" Taz responds by saying, "I'm gonna come back to pick it up in 2 weeks, don't even worry about it." This doesn't make any sense, but I'll continue. When Taz
Hold on, bro, something fishy going on.
home,
Bro, the boy, he didn't even want to catch that John. That's gonna eat him up.
Ab and says touchdown. He then puts his phone away and goes to sleep. When Taz wakes up, he notices that Ab liked the message and is directing him to go to Braz's house. Braz is an OG OHB member who's in charge of one of the stash houses. So Taz goes to his house excited to receive a huge cash reward. Or at least that's what he was expecting. When he arrives to Braz's house, he's handed a duffel bag full of product to sell. As he's driving away, he realizes that there's no cash in the bag. This can't possibly be it, right? But no, there was no reward at all, just a bunch of new product for Taz to go sell. Taz wasn't happy to say the least, but there's nothing you can do when you're dealing with a guy like AR Ab. Well, 2 weeks go by and Taz returns to Birdo's to pick up his gun like he promised. He didn't feel safe on the streets without it, and AR Ab didn't supply him with a new one. So Taz was now riding around with evidence of a first-degree homicide on his waistband. As you would expect, this would not go well. November 11th, 2017. While speeding through North Philly, Taz is pulled over by Philadelphia police. For whatever reason, Taz consents to a search and police look through his car. They find his blower under the seat, which is a misdemeanor in the state of Pennsylvania. In Taz's mind, he might have to do a couple months, but it's not that serious. However, after searching the serial number, police find out that it's stolen and they also match it to the incident of Robert Johnson. And just like that, Taz is arrested for first-degree homicide. Once Ab gets the news, he shrugs his shoulders and pretty much accepts that Taz is gone for life. And because the evidence is overwhelming, he figures that paying for his lawyer is a waste of money.
No, it ain't. Oh my.
This was a cold move by Ab,
That's
and also a
crazy.
dumb one as well. As you would expect, Taz felt betrayed. Like, I put my freedom on the line for you and you didn't even pay me nor pay for my lawyer. The street codes are one thing, but you can't betray somebody like this and expect them to be in your good graces. So from behind bars, Taz would get his revenge, but we're not quite there yet.
That's just shaking my head.
After this, OBH moved on like nothing had happened. They kept getting money and AR-AB kept incriminating them on social media. In fact, one of his viral videos would finally catch up to him.
I've seen him do it! I've seen him do it!
Yep, after this video, Skinny Me became Philadelphia police's #1 target. Prior to the video, they didn't even know who he was, given that he was originally from Ohio. So the investigation went like this. They went through the phone that was left on the scene and all they saw was a bunch of selfies of Skinny Me. But they didn't recognize the man in the picture, and on top of this, the phone was a prepaid that wasn't registered to anyone. But once they saw the video on YouTube, they put the faces together.
I've seen him do it! I've seen him.
That's crazy, bro.
And that was all it took to get him indicted. On September 13th, 2018, police issued an arrest warrant for
Dang, wanted for murder. Oh my goodness, it's over.
Ross Parker, also known as Skinny Me. And once the news broke, Skinny Me responded in the most OHB way possible.
Listen, I'm on the Steegs right now for like a murder. You know what I'm saying? Like for a murder. When they hate you, they frame you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, in due time, like I'm still gonna be giving a record count. I'm still gonna be putting on for the cool kids. Cause I ain't gonna start recording. And I'm just gonna run cause I'm scared to death. The police, they don't tell me what they do. I'm scared to death of the court system. They don't tell me what they do. When you're innocent, they still just to bully you out. They hate you, they frame you. When they hate you, they frame you. Remember that, man. Realist high, this nigga, Notorious Skinny Me, beat the weight off.
2 weeks after the viral...
Bro, you know what's crazy, bro? Like, I know his anxiety was crazy in that backseat, but the bull, like, they really used all this internet stuff and fraud him with it, bro. Like, that's crazy.
Skinny Me was arrested during a raid, and during the arrest, he kept the same energy that he had in the video and in the streets.
Man, y'all heard how he was talking, bro? He from Ohio. He was in Philly for a minute, though. Y'all heard how he was talking, bro?
And it's the count, and I'm going to 50 grand strong. Hey, yo, let everybody know, huh? Let everybody know. I got you, bro. Let everybody know, huh?
Alright, bro.
Let everybody know, huh? I'm the realest living. I just happen to rap, man. That's it, man. Videos, my brother. I ain't listen, man. I'm $1 million, man. Man, y'all know I got $1 million talent. Y'all do that, man. I ain't doing none of that. And I was growing dreads on these. Don't mind my hair. I wanted everybody to see me come out in swag. Hey, yo, just let everybody know, huh?
Skinny Me was truly something else. Well, this was a major blow to OBH because their two biggest steppers were now gone, and this also meant that there was a huge liability for OBH to get told on. So you'd imagine that Ab would be in panic mode, but this wasn't the case at all. In fact, during this period, Boogie made 6 trips from LA to Philly as ordered by Ab. Little did Abdul know his phone was being tapped by the feds, and finally they had everything they needed to take down OBH and Philly's top goon.
I told y'all they was talking too much on the phones from what they was just saying from way back then. I know. Oh my goodness.
On October 19th, 2018, 9 OBH members were arrested for distributing everything under the sun. All 4 of Abdul's properties were raided, Team Transportation LLC was seized, and this was the end of OBH for a long time. Every single member in the indictment was facing up to 15 years. However, neither of the violent incidents were tied to AR-AB or OBH at all, and this was a major blessing for Ab.
So
his maximum sentence was 12 years, and thank goodness he ducked the big ones. Or at least for the meantime. Police knew that Ab was tied to the Skinny Me and Taz incidents, however they couldn't prove it. So they decided to approach the 2 members and offer them reduced time if they could give up information. First they approached Skinny and offered to reduce his charge to manslaughter, but he decided to not give up information. All he had to say was that Ab had something to do with it, and then his charges would pretty much vanish. But Skinny Me was loyal to the bone, and because of this he was sentenced to 25 years to life. However, his case is currently up for appeal due to police misconduct. According to lawyers,
bro, I hate when niggas keep it real and they get whacked still, bro. That'd be fine.
He's completely disregarded a witness who gave a description that looked nothing like Skinny Me. And to be fair, Skinny Me said that he was being framed from the jump.
No.
They hate you, they frame you. When they hate you, they frame you. Remember that, man.
Only time will tell. Do you guys think that Skinny Me will return to the streets? Well, after Skinny refused to cooperate, police went to their second best option. Little did they know this guy was willing to tell everything since day one. When Taz was arrested, he knew that he stood no chance with a public defender, so he simply decided to plead guilty. However, while he was awaiting sentencing, he was also indicted in the OBH takedown. Due to phone records, he was accused of simply selling for AR-AB. This was a federal RICO case and had nothing to do with his state case. So when the feds approached Taz, there really wasn't anything they could offer him. Yes, they could drop his RICO, but he's already being sentenced to life for homicide in another case. However, he was so angry at AB for not paying him or supplying him with a lawyer that he was willing to take him down for nothing. So on October,
it's like I can't even like, I mean, a rat is a rat, bro, but I can't even be mad at him. He left him in the cold for real, bro.
17th, 2019, Taz began telling prosecutors everything. No, like literally the second they sat down, he began telling them everything from the start. Like he was even giving them information that they didn't even ask for. For example, he gave them the addresses of all of AB's stash houses, which they had already raided. He then told them about all of the OBH members who had already been arrested. And after 2.5 hours of yapping, he finally gave them the information they needed. He told them that on October 12th, AB had ordered him to take out Robert Johnson.
Why would he say that?
Wow, this was a cold move, but it gets even colder. For whatever reason, he told them that OBH Birdo volunteered to go on the hit and that he stashed his blower at his house for 2 weeks. This was a sorry move, especially because Birdo had done nothing wrong to him. He was lucky to be one of the only members to duck the indictment, but now he was wanted for accessory to murder.
Wow.
And Taz's snitching would not end here. He told the prosecutors that OBH Braz was the one who handed him the duffel bag as a reward for his actions. Again, another member who did absolutely nothing wrong to him. Now, OBH Braz was added to the indictment as well. This is what you call next level snitching.
Yeah, bro, that's how the power.
So because of Taz 9, AR-AB was now facing murder and conspiracy to murder as well. He pretty much told on everyone in OHB except for one member. If you can remember, Dark Low was his original friend and the one who brought him to the crew, and I think this is the reason he spared him from his ratatouille. So while all of his friends and family were facing decades, Dark Low was at home trying to lay low. Well, once the news broke that Taz was snitching, Dark Low was sick. He couldn't fathom why he would do this, but he also felt kind of guilty as he was the one who brought him around.
Yeah, bro.
So Dark Low was pissed and he decided to send a letter to Taz in jail. In the letter, he asked him why he snitched and if he was an informant from the jump. This is all good and dandy, but the second half of the letter would be another dumb OBH decision. Low tells him to recant his statements and to take his time like a man. He then threatens him by saying that if you testify in AB's case, your life in prison will be hell. Writing this on paper to a guy who just snitched on all of your friends is not the smartest thing to do.
At all.
As you would expect, Taz 9 turned this into prosecutors and Dark Low was now wanted for felony witness intimidation.
Oh my. Yeah, bro, this just get worse and worse for them, bro.
In the end, Dark Low was sentenced to 7.5 years in federal prison because of this one little letter. And even for a very little award, Taz decided to testify against AB in his case. This resulted in a sentence of 45 years to life, pretty much guaranteeing AR-AB will never be back home.
Wow.
Even though he was snitched on, he can really only blame himself for the situation. He decided to have a man that he just met go step for him, and then he didn't pay for his lawyer or compensate him. Oh, and all of the self-snitching is something that I don't think we've ever seen on this channel. The fact that it took Philadelphia all these years to take him down is really disappointing. Also, get this, Taz is currently serving 25 years to life, so all that snitching did nothing for him. He got the same exact sentence as Skinny Me, who decided not to testify. Overall, Abdul West has to be one of the dumbest criminals in American history, right? He had so many opportunities to become a millionaire through music and threw it away at every chance. So if you needed any more proof, the legal route is always better in the end than taking the fast route. He could have signed with Swiss Beats, Birdman, or grinded out his independent catalog. But no, instead he was too concerned with being the man in the Philadelphia streets. And that's gonna do it for this episode of Swamp Stories.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. That's the end of that, but that was crazy how that story unfolded, man. I ain't gonna hold y'all. I didn't know they was going that hard, though. But it all collapsed over 1 week link, man. But that's why you don't do shady stuff to people, bro. Like, for real, like, he was doing all that, but when somebody did something for him, he didn't look out for him, bro. He didn't look out for him. That's why that joint went sour. But, yeah, man, this is another story went wrong, man. I can't believe this, bro. It was a good story, though. So if y'all enjoyed that, make sure y'all comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Stay tuned for more, bro. And let me know what you want to see next. It's Butter. I'm going to catch y'all next one. I'm out.
Chains in these watches, boy, we real ice. Hands out the window, bam, 10 in a pair